Carjacking, theft, kidnapping, corruption, and even worse. These are all things I was told I would very likely face if I decided to pursue van life in Baja, Mexico. So, is it true? Are these states as dangerous as some people say they are, with violent people and corrupt military officials lurking around every corner? Or have these ideas been inflated over recent years because of a news cycle that profits off spectacle? And if you do decide to travel through Baja in a van despite the warnings, what is it really like? How much does it cost to live in Baja in a van? Is it difficult to find nice campsites and other amenities? After 2.5 months of traveling in these places, I have answers. This video is everything you need to know if you want to travel in a van through Baja, Mexico. First off, the borders. If you are going to travel in a van through Baja, expect to be inspected at the border and always cross in early morning. About to cross the border for the first time in my van.
Okay guys, shake out all of your nerves, it's gonna be fine.
Consider where you're going to cross. The state of Baja California is actually listed under reconsider travel by the Mexico Travel Advisory, but this is by far and large due to crime that happens in the city of Tijuana, which is located closest to the border in San Diego. And the red light districts of the city are a big reason why people are so fearful of travel in Baja. Me and my friends opted to cross in Calexico for this reason, as Mexicali, Baja is known to be much safer. At this point, I feel extremely confident saying that every single van that crosses at this border will very likely be inspected, and you are extremely lucky if you are not inspected. My van was inspected both ways, and so were all of my friends. I think our whole crew has just been pulled over to be inspected. Sarah and Tori's van is being inspected right now too. That being said, all of these inspections were very relaxed, and I think overall these border officials are more excited to see your rig than anything else. I even had one of the control agents on the way in snap a photo before she let me through. Make sure you get your FMM tourist visa at the border. There's a building right there that you can go to right after you're done getting inspected. You wait in a few lines, you pay around $36, and they'll send you on your way. It's a really easy way to just get that done quickly. The whole process of getting into Baja, including inspection and getting those tourist cards, probably took around 45 minutes, but I can't say the same for leaving Baja. That day was full of chaos, and I filmed the whole thing for you guys. Today's the day we're crossing the border. We're all feeling really gross, and we tried to camp at an RV park last night, but both of them were completely full, and so we weren't able to take showers. I think we're gonna try to sneak in and see if we can hand them 50 pesos to take one this morning, and then we'll be on our way. That was definitely one of the more unfortunate showers of my life. If not for the really cold water, then the very loud, uncomfortable noises of someone using the restroom right on the other side of the wall. But now I'm making us some tacos with a breakfast hash, and then I think we're gonna go. And we are on our way. We have about 2.5 hours until the border. I wasn't nervous until this morning when I had a conversation with Sarah and Tori, who told me that our mutual friend had their plants taken away from them at the border. And that makes me nervous because I really love my plants. I have a feeling that we got here at the literal worst time of day, and I think that this line might end up being multiple hours long, which really sucks. I also don't have air conditioning, and it's 91 degrees outside. Don't know how much that is in Celsius. I feel so bad for Eliza, my poor baby dog. It's been almost 3 hours. It'll be 3 hours and less than 20 minutes because it is 6:02 as we speak. We made such a grave error trying to come this late in the day. I would certainly never do it again, but the good news is that the back of the van, where Eliza is right now, is a lot cooler because I had the fan blowing, and this is an insulated curtain, so Eliza's been chilling on the bed, which is really nice because I was more worried about her than anything else. And I'm just so ready to be done with this, and I'm just so hopeful that the crossing itself goes smoothly. I can see the border crossing, and I have butterflies in my stomach.
What do you have to declare?
I have my houseplants that came from the U.S.
What's that? I'm sorry.
My houseplants.
We're in park. I'm gonna go inside.
My dog's in here, by the way. She's nice, though.
Flashers on, you have?
My flashers?
Yeah. That triangle, the red triangle. There you go.
Going in for secondary inspection. Hi.
Nice. That's fine right here. They'll be with you in a bit, okay?
Okay, thank you. Update, they did not take my houseplants. They did take my potatoes that I had left over, and now Sarah and Tori are getting inspected, and hopefully we'll be able to make it to San Diego before 10 because we really have zero ingredients at all. I need to buy something to eat for dinner. I can't even tell you how good it feels to have the wind in my hair and to be driving again. The sun is going to set behind the mountains right now, and we'll be driving in the dark, but you can't take away this feeling of happiness from me at being free again. And in my home state of California, baby. So the take home: 1, go early to border crossings. Be smart, don't be like us. Number 2, your houseplants will probably be okay, but you might want to consider hiding them just in case. And number 3, overall, border crossings to and from Mexico are not at all scary, but they are definitely time-consuming. A while ago, I made a video about everything I thought you needed before you go to Baja. Here's a brief summary, and I do think that most of these things hold true, but I also think that a lot of the research I collected was from people who were also preparing to go and not necessarily from people who had already experienced it. So now, after having experienced it myself, I have a few revisions. Number 1 is water. I read on multiple sites that you'll want to consider bringing an extra jug for potable water, and I'm here to tell you that you really don't need that. Purified water stations in Baja are plentiful. I had no problem finding water ever, and there's really only one thing that you'll definitely want to consider bringing if you have a standard garden hose attachment on your van instead of a gravity fill. That is this adapter. My friends Denise and Reed gave me this adapter, and it was such a lifesaver. This makes it so that at virtually any purified water business that uses hose, you will be able to attach this and get water. I think you can find these on Amazon. I'll try to find one and link it below in the description box, but this came in handy multiple times and I highly recommend it. Next up is military checkpoints and police bribes. Me and my friends went through 3 or 4 military checkpoints both on the way down and the way out of Baja, and these were all really relaxed. I only had a military official inspect my van one time. We're about to pass what I'm guessing is the last military checkpoint before we hit the border. At every other checkpoint, they've just waved me right on, but I have a feeling that this one might be a little stricter than the other ones just because it is so close to the border. Never mind, they just waved me right through, and I think we're gonna make good time now. But we did have a guy in our group who said that his van was inspected more regularly than the rest of us, and I'm not sure if this is more common for everybody. Regardless, it would only take around 5 minutes max, even if his van was more thoroughly inspected, and then all of us were waved along. And for the other military checkpoints, we were waved along with no inspection whatsoever. The other thing I wanted to talk about is bribe money. I'd read on multiple different sites that you'll want to consider bringing extra pesos in case a cop tries to bribe you after pulling you over, and I've since read that this is a really bad idea and that you should always ask for a citation. This is really up to your discretion, but I wanted to put that out there that a lot of people recommend against doing that. I did have one friend who did pay off a police officer who pulled her over for using her phone, and she was just waved through and it was fine otherwise, but people talk a lot about furthering corruption or enforcing corruption, so I just wanted to put that out into the internet world. There's one other little tidbit that I want to mention, and that's how much I enforced printing out all of your documentation. I would still do this. I want to repeat that I would still print out copies of my passport and license, and definitely my car insurance and my pet vaccines if I were to go again. But I just want to let you know that no one asked for it. No one asked for any of these documents ever outside of my passport. Even when my friends brought back a puppy from Mexico, no one specifically asked to see his vaccine records, which I thought was crazy. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that I don't think it's as serious as maybe you think it is, but it's always good to have this documentation on hand. And for the last part of this segment, these are the 3 recommendations I think are mandatory if you are traveling in a van through Baja, Mexico. Number 1 is MaxTrax. I recommended these in my Baja prep video, and now I've experienced their magnificence. I used my MaxTrax 4 or 5 times getting other people unstuck as well as myself unstuck, and I also used MaxTrax of some of my friends as well. That is one of the nice things. If you're traveling in a group or in popular beach areas, you'll almost always be able to find someone with MaxTrax, but I still think that it's absolutely essential that you have them yourself for those more remote areas. They can really help you out in a pickle. It's basically a rite of passage that you will get stuck in Baja, so it's best to be prepared. Number 2 isn't entirely essential, but I do highly recommend you consider purchasing all-terrain tires, especially if your current tires have been wearing down, which is what mine were doing prior to my purchase of $1,000 all-terrain tires.
Hey bro, can I help you?
Good morning. I was wondering if you guys have availability today to change tires for a 2014 Ram ProMaster. These help so much in sandy areas. There are a lot of rocky areas in Baja, and there are some stretches of highway that do have a lot of potholes, and having all-terrain tires can just set your mind at ease knowing that you'll be able to handle any terrain that you go on. And number 3, you will definitely want to consider purchasing some sort of internet option. Cellular service is extremely unreliable in Baja. In most places, it's entirely non-existent. Me and my friends rely heavily on our Starlink. It's a service that we split 3 ways because it is a pretty expensive service, but with our remote work, we really do rely heavily on having internet at all times, even at the remote beaches that we went to in Baja. I know that there's other more affordable options out there, so you'll just have to do your own research to see what fits within your budget. Speaking of budget, how much does it cost to travel in a van through Baja, Mexico? In the 2.5 months that I spent traveling through these states, I spent a grand total of $3,697.75. This amounts to about $1,479.10 per month, but this does not include the $1,000 I spent on all-terrain tires or any fixed costs that I have, including health insurance, phone plans, and subscriptions that I have. It does, however, include the $341.62 I paid for mandatory car insurance in Baja. I went with Baja Bound. Make sure you don't forget about car insurance in Mexico. It will be separate from your normal insurance that you have here in the United States or whatever country you are coming from. Next up is groceries. I spent a total of $1,360 on groceries, which is about $135 a week. This is pretty comparable to what I spend in the US on groceries, and I do think it was a common theme for me and my friends to talk about how Baja really wasn't that much cheaper than it is in the United States. The grocery selection varied a lot. There would be some stores that we went to that had pretty minimal pickings or unreliable stock that would change every single time you went. We also went to very fancy organic stores that had specialty items you could find in the US, and I think my favorite stores were the Walmarts whenever you could find them. They had the widest selection and also the cheapest food out of most of the places that we went to, and it was just nice to be able to get everything we needed in one place. Of course, these locations are pretty few and far between. The next category is eating out. I spent a total of $184.75. Going out to restaurants is very rare for me. Me and my friends reserved this for special vegan restaurants we were excited to try. I maybe could have taken a little more advantage of it, knowing that there is a lot of really delicious food you could have to eat, but it was very hard to find vegan-friendly options in smaller towns, and most of the time we were in remote areas that didn't have restaurants nearby anyway. This category can vary a lot if you're someone who really likes to try the local food in the areas you visit. Water. There is really no such thing as potable tap water in Baja, and you will have to purchase all of your drinking water. I spent a total of only $36 on water, which is still $36 more than I spend in the US, but I'm not complaining, knowing that I had safe water in my van at all times and didn't have to buy any water bottles while I was traveling there. Next up is gas. I spent almost exactly $480 on diesel fuel for the duration of my stay in Baja, and we traveled well over 2,100 miles or 3,380 kilometers. Diesel prices average around $4.90 per gallon right now, which is a bit lower than the average in the US, which is $5.30, and I know gas prices for both are lower in Baja and in the United States on average. Moving on to camping, there are so many beautiful beaches in Baja that you can camp at for free. You do not need to spend a dime. That being said, I spent $111.94 at the few RV parks that we stayed at, as well as a couple camping spots we stayed at in Bahia Concepcion. RV parks are a great option if you need to do laundry or get showers, because a lot of them have both. Good morning. We are in La Paz today. We stayed at an RV park last night, which was so amazing because we finally got to take showers with indoor plumbing, and I have been taking purely van showers for an entire month. We were also able to do some loads of laundry, which is really good because in true dirtbag fashion, I'd worn almost all of these pieces at least 2 to 3 times. Actually, probably more like 4 or 5 times. Today, we're driving back north and heading back up towards the United States. And as for Bahia Concepcion, best $88 I have ever spent. Bahia Concepcion is the largest bay on the entire peninsula, and it is home to some of the most perfect still turquoise waters and incredible wildlife viewings. We stayed a total of 8 nights and I don't regret it. I would definitely go right back and do it again. But there really are so many amazing free campsites as well, with some of the most memorable wildlife encounters happening at free beaches like Playa El Pedrito, where we saw gray whales right off the shore. The next category is clothes and souvenirs. I definitely could have spent a lot less in this category, but I totally splurged on a bunch of handmade items. I spent a total of $536.94. Again, all of these items were handmade and I had my eye on them for a while. I wear the clothes, including these pants, almost every single day, and so I don't regret a thing, but I do think this is a category you definitely don't have to spend as much money on as I did. Surprise, this is Maddie from the future. As I was editing this segment, I felt like something was really off. There's no way that I spent $537 on clothing and souvenirs, and I realized that I completely forgot to include my scuba diving adventure. I was trying to approximate what I spent with cash, and I can't believe that I forgot this. Scuba diving was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life. Myself and my 2 best friends got to scuba dive with bull sharks and a myriad of other species as well. It was truly an out of this world experience. I definitely want to try to find a link to the company I used in Cabo Polmo in the description box below, because it is absolutely worth doing if you're in the area. I just think it's really comical that I forgot to include this expense, but this makes a lot more sense, and so the remaining money is what I spent on clothing. I think it's about $142. One thing I really do regret though is that I didn't visit the ATM more often. There is a 3% credit card fee on every purchase you make with a credit or debit card, and after a while I just ran out of cash and didn't find the time to revisit an ATM, and those fees really added up more than any of the things I listed at the beginning of this video. You should be fearful of credit card fees. I spent a total of $87.75 entirely unnecessarily. Don't be like me. Go to an ATM. I will say though that some of these fees are from ATMs and I wasn't able to distinguish, so it's probably a little lower than what I have listed. But again, it's just so unnecessary. Just take out pesos and you won't run into this problem. Moving on to my final thoughts. The danger of Baja depends on where you go. There are red light districts in my country and your country, wherever you live, that you don't want to go to, that are unsavory, that are dangerous. You can find those in Baja too. You can also find so many places that feel extremely safe, arguably that feel safer than some of the cities I regularly travel to here in the US. Places like Cabo, Todos Santos, La Paz all feel so warm and welcoming, and I never was afraid at any point. Of course, crime is more popular in towns and cities, and you'll want to exercise increased caution in areas where crime is more possible. You'll also want to avoid driving at night. Potholes and livestock can make roads dangerous, and I've also heard that there's potential for illegal roadblocks at night where people will try to take your money. I didn't experience this. No one I know has experienced this, and it's easily preventable by just not driving at night. For the vast majority of time, if you exercise your standard security measures, you will be safe. You will be more than safe. You will have the time of your life. I am now entirely convinced that the people who tell you not to travel in a van in Baja are the people who haven't done it themselves. Me and all of my friends and everyone I know who's traveled in a van in Baja will tell you it is not to be missed. It is incredible. There are so many perfect, pristine beaches, so many that if you stay for long enough, you might just well start to get sick of them. There are wildlife encounters with ocean animals unlike any I have ever experienced in my entire life. And there is a huge community of other nomads who often travel in Baja throughout the winter. So even if you travel alone, you probably won't be alone for very long. All in all, Baja is a very special, magical place, and I couldn't recommend going more. And that is all I have for you. I hope that this video was helpful. If any of you who have traveled in Baja have more advice, you can feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I really want this video to be comprehensive for other nomads like myself who are thinking about going to Baja but have been told that it is a scary and dangerous place by others. It's really not very scary at all. It's really just absolutely incredible. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. It's called Carrizo Plains. I think it's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. Hold on. Am I in this shot?
But I can spell it for you if you want to write it down.
Crouch a little lower. Okay.
I think it's C-A-R-R-I-Z-O.
My points were getting... What? What did I just say?
Where do I go?